Ankara throws its weight behind Syria's new rulers, warning Israel, pressing the Kurds and signing a fresh military pact. From stalled peace talks to secret Paris diplomacy, and a bid to revive a Cold War-era oil lifeline. This is Syria at a crossroads and every player is moving their pieces. Turkey publicly reinforced its support for the new Syrian government on August 13th, warning Israel and Kurdish fighters to cease actions threatening its stability and signing an agreement on military training cooperation and consultancy. Speaking at a news conference in Ankara with Syrian Foreign Minister Asad al-Shibani, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan accused Israel and the US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF, of undermining the country's efforts to re-establish itself after more than a decade of civil war.
Israel had fueled certain difficulties in Syria and warned that Israeli security cannot be achieved through undermining the security of your neighbors. To the contrary, you should make sure your neighboring countries are prosperous and secure. If you try to destabilize these countries, if you take steps to that end, this could trigger other crises in the region.
Since Islamist-led insurgents ousted former President Bashar Assad in a rebel offensive in December, the new interim government in Damascus has struggled to maintain stability and heal the wounds of the nearly 14-year civil war. Most recently, hundreds were killed in clashes in the southern province of Sweida, between government forces and local Bedouin tribesmen on one side and fighters from the Druze minority on the other.
Both the YPG and leadership of the YPG must now abandon their policy of stallings and playing for time. The chaos they anticipate will not occur. Even if it does, the outcome they desire will never materialize. They need to stop putting our Kurdish brothers and sisters at further risk and holding their futures hostage before long. In an environment where Turkey's security demands are not met, we have no chance of remaining complacent, dear friends. We state this openly. Our president, Tayyip Erdogan, has repeatedly stated this. Our number one political reflex is always peace, tranquility, goodwill, and a constructive approach. Our president demonstrates this with his vision and will, but we will not be deceived on this matter. I want to underscore this once again. From here, I call upon the YPG administration to enter into a positive engagement with the Damascus administration. They should do everything in their power to build Syria's future together. They should immediately eliminate the threat to Turkey and the region from the armed elements there and the tons of terrorists they have recruited from around the world. This is what we want.
Meanwhile, tensions have also risen between the central government and the US-allied SDF that controls northeastern Syria. Implementation of an agreement reached in March to merge the SDF with the new Syrian army has stalled, and there have been scattered outbreaks of violence between the two sides. On August 8th, representatives of Syria's various ethnic and religious groups held a conference in the northeastern Syrian city of Hasakah, which is under the SDF's control, and called for the formation of a decentralized state and the drafting of a new constitution that guarantees religious, cultural, and ethnic pluralism. The Syrian government criticized the meeting and alleged that among the attendees were some with secessionist ambitions. Foreign Minister Asad Hassan al-Shibani also voiced concerns against the SDF conference held last week.
We confirmed our rejection for this conference, held by the SDF in Hasakah on August 8, and this conference is considered as a violation of the agreement between Syrian government and SDF regarding joining new state institutions that was signed on March 10th. We emphasize that dialogue and that the Syrian government and state is the umbrella that should protect all minorities, and it is the umbrella under which all problems should be solved.
Ankara views the SDF with hostility, as the group is spearheaded by the People's Protection Units, seen as the Syrian offshoot of the Kurdistan Workers' Party that recently entered a peace process with Turkey after a more than 40-year insurgency. Turkey has been supportive of Syria's new administration, which is formed largely by rebels that Ankara backed during the civil war. An Axios report on August 12th said that the United States is seeking to mediate an agreement between Israel and Syria to establish a humanitarian corridor from Israel to the southern Syrian city of Sweida, aimed at delivering aid to the local Druze community. One US official and 2 Israeli officials confirmed the initiative to Axios, with talks expected to continue next week in Paris. US Special Envoy to Syria Tom Barrack is scheduled to meet Israeli Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer and Syrian Foreign Affairs Minister Asad al-Shaibani to finalize terms. This will be the second such meeting in 3 weeks, postponed from August 13th to allow for preparations and agenda refinement. Citing Qatari outlet Al-Arabi Al-Jadid, Axios reported that Barrack met al-Shaibani and Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi in Amman on August 12 to discuss the Sweida situation. The effort follows a deterioration in humanitarian conditions despite a ceasefire after last month's clashes. A recent UN report noted that restrictions on freedom of movement continue to limit aid deliveries. Israeli officials told Axios that weeks ago Israel sought to send aid to Sweida via Jordan, but Amman refused. The IDF then resorted to airdrops. They say Jordan's refusal prompted Israel to request US mediation with Damascus. Syrian officials, however, reportedly fear the proposed corridor could be used to smuggle weapons to Druze communities. Meanwhile, on August 12th, in a significant development, Iraq and Syria discussed reviving the Kirkuk-Baniyas oil pipeline between the two countries. According to a statement from the Iraqi Prime Minister's office, the talks came during a meeting in Baghdad between Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani and Syrian Energy Minister Mohammed al-Bashir. In an official statement, Iraqi Prime Minister's office said,
The meeting reviewed the prospects for bilateral relations and ways to enhance them in various fields, particularly in the energy sector, in a manner that serves the interests of both brotherly peoples. They also discussed the possibility of reviving the Kirkuk-Baniyas oil pipeline in light of the formation of a joint technical committee to assess the condition of the pipeline and explore options for its rehabilitation as one of the projects planned by the government in its efforts to diversify export outlets.
The Kirkuk-Baniyas pipeline was built in 1952 to transport crude oil from Kirkuk's oil fields in Iraq to the Syrian port of Baniyas on the Mediterranean Sea.
Al-Sudani affirmed Iraq's support for Syria's stability and sovereignty over its territory, rejecting any aggression against it, while stressing the importance of enhancing coordination and solidarity to face common challenges and address the consequences of the ongoing Israeli aggression against Gaza.
According to the statement, the sides explored bilateral relationship with its social and cultural dimensions.
Al-Bashir stressed the depth of the bilateral relationship between the two countries, with its social and cultural dimensions, and the opportunities for cooperation in the fields of energy, telecommunications, and the optical cable coming from Europe through Syrian territory, as well as in mutual and joint investment.
Earlier on August 12th, al-Bashir arrived in Baghdad for a visit of unspecified duration, during which he was scheduled to meet officials to discuss cooperation in areas including energy and water resources projects.